All right, so we just created our separate halftone layer from our white silhouette layer, and now we have our gray background still there as well. Now we need to bring our, we need to have this open, and we also need to have our original contour line file open, okay? And this is where we're going to take the contour line and now import it over and onto the top of our halftone image, okay? I'm going to show you how to do that. So come over here and click on your halftone layer. Now remember, this is my top layer is only my line drawing, okay? So I'm going to go Command A on my keyboard. That's going to be Command All. Now there is something important here I need to explain. I did go back in and resize my image. Notice this is 8 inches wide. I'm going to go to Image, Size, and I don't know if we ever did that with your original contour line drawing, uh, where we resized it to 8 inches by 300 resolution. This is where you'll need to do that now. That way the size of your contour line drawing matches the size of your halftone, okay? Remember, we had to resize your halftone image to this size in order to get the halftone to work. Well, you need to make sure that your contour line drawing image is also the same size for it to match up. So go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and size this image up to 8 inches wide. The height doesn't matter. It's going to change because we got constraint properties. Whenever you change this to 8, it'll automatically change that number for you, and then you'll have a resolution of 300 that you'll need to put in, okay? All right, so do that first. Now you've got everything selected. Go Command C for copy, and then come over to the portrait. I'm going to click on this top layer because when we paste it, we want it to be on top. So I'm going to go Command V. Oh, that's not going to work. So we need to do something special. Okay, let me explain. I'm going to go Command Z, and we need to go to Edit, Paste Special, Paste in Place. That's what we wanted. Okay, so zoom in, and now you can see your, why is my contour line drawing looking all faint around? I guess it's not that faint. It just does look kind of faint. But I guess next to that dot is really dark, and therefore my contour line drawing looks a little faint. Um, anyway, it's fine. It is my contour line drawing. Okay, so it's in place. Later we are going to turn down the halftone a little bit, and we can go ahead and actually do some of that now, because notice the lines in my hair are gone. Okay, they're not there. But they are there. We just can't see them because the halftone is so dark. So we've achieved pretty much, you know, uh, what we want in terms of our halftone and our contour line drawing. And now we just need to start coloring it. Okay. So I'm going to name this top layer my contour. Okay. And we got our halftone, we got our white silhouette, we got our background. So what we're wanting to do is start to do something to where it looks like this. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some things about this. Remember how I said my halftone, I was going to turn it down? Look at my opacity on my halftone layer. This tone is turned down to 53%. If I turn that up, notice how dark it gets, and I lose some of the color coming through underneath it. Okay. This allows my halftone layer to start to take on the color of what's underneath. Okay, so you can see here my black is actually starting to turn kind of brown because I have brown underneath it. Okay, if I turn my halftone layer off, you can see it's brown underneath. If I turn my halftone layer on, it just sort of now makes a dark brown in the dark areas. Okay, I noticed down in my shirt here where I just have basically this gray color for the shirt. I turn the halftone off, right? I lose my shading, which kind of creates that, shading creates more 3D look. If I turn my shading back on with the halftone, and now it, with the opacity turned down, it, my computer is lagging, sorry. Trying to get this to work. You can see my halftone is taking on some of a darker version of the colors underneath. Okay, so that's the purpose of what our halftone is going to serve. Okay, so let's get back to our picture. So let's take our halftone and let's tone it down. Let's take down the opacity. Let's take it down at least to, I had 43% on my other image, and that makes it pretty faint. Okay, but it's still there, it's still present. Okay, so now if I zoom in, you can see it's still there. It's just more or less kind of a gray now. Okay, because I have white underneath, and it's just, you know, taking on sort of a blend of the white underneath and where I've turned the opacity down. Okay, but now what's going to happen is when we put color underneath that, and where we're going to put color is we're going to put color in between the halftone and the white silhouette. That's where we're going to put our colors. Okay, so let's just start off with some kind of skin color. So I'm going to click on my white silhouette layer. I'm going to create a new layer. And let's create this, the skin color. Okay. Now, finding the skin color you want is going to be sort of a process. Okay. And I'm going to come over here, and I know skin color for, white Caucasians or somewhere in kind of a neutral orangey kind of range. Okay, somewhere up in here. Now, my first attempt at skin color did not turn out well, and so you can always go back and change the skin color. Let's just say I create a skin color that's just really bright, really intense, and if that's what you want, that's fine. Okay, but I'm going to now use my brush, and I'm going to reduce this. And right now I don't have my drawing tablet hooked up, but this is where you want to use your drawing tablet and start to color this in. Now you're going to want to create sort of, now we're like coloring, like in a coloring book, okay? We're just coloring in this image up to what we know are the edges because of the halftone that's there. So I know the hair is going to be right about there. And so now I'm just going to start kind of coloring in, not within the lines, but kind of within the halftone, and start coloring this in. Now I'll reduce my brush size in order to get in those little areas, and I can increase my brush size. Okay. I'm going to color around the eyes, so I don't want to lose the white of my eyes. I start coloring in. Now later I may find out, look, you know, and if you go outside the contour just a little bit around the edge, it's okay. Notice how I went outside the edge right there, as far as actually coloring within the lines. I'm going to introduce you to the artist Andy Warhol, and he didn't always do everything so neat and perfect, and it makes kind of an interesting look. Um, Zoom in if you need to kind of help you refine edges. Now I am going to give him a different lip color. I'm going to make it just a little different, so I do want to. Now I can do things where I can, I could just paint over all of this right here with his lips and then create my layer of, skin color on top of this and then color on top of it. If you want to do it that way, maybe I'll just do that for now. Okay. All right. So I can continue doing this and, you're starting to see the process. And if I decide that color is just not a good color, this is where I can go back to the magic wand tool, select on it, come over, select that color, and it'll select everything that I just painted that is that color that's on that layer. I can come over here, adjust my color. Let's just say I want to take the intensity down a little bit, and then I can come over with my paint bucket tool and paint that all in. Once I painted everything in the area that I want it, I can use my magic wand tool to quickly select that color and adjust it. Okay. So just know that going forward, if your colors look a little off digitally, we can fix that real quick. Okay. So I'm going to click Command D to get to undo that. Now from here, we can create create layers. So I'm going to go to create a new layer. I'm going to create my hair layer. Now that we've kind of done this, where we've started to create this silhouette right here of the hair, we could actually put the hair layer under the skin layer, and I'll show you why. If I come over here, I know his hair color is kind of a darker brown color. I'm just going to come here and select. I'll go with that. And what I'm going to do, select my brush, come over here. Now, if I paint underneath, with this layer underneath the skin color, I don't have to be so careful. I can just go whoop, 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 real quick, real easy. And that way then, I'm not having to fuss over painting right up to the edge of the previous color. I can just do just like that because now notice over here, I've not painted yet with the skin color. So that's the difference. Okay. Now I'm noticing this edge right here is still too rounded, and that is where the skin color is, right? I could go back with the eraser and start to erase. I gotta make sure my skin color layer is on. I could start to erase and kind of sharpen those points for the hair. I feel like that does need to be a little bit more pointed. And I could always just go back and forth and refine these kind of things. Okay, until I get it exactly the way I want it. Maybe I want, now, if I want to paint with this color again, right, I can go, now this is going to be new. I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool because see, I don't have my skin color over here anymore, right? I don't have it anymore. I changed it to brown for the hair. If I want the skin color back, I just use the eyedropper tool, click on that area, and bam, there's my eye color again. I mean, my skin color again, okay? And now, let's say I want to refine my edge here a little bit. I can reduce this down, zoom in, because I know in this area, things get, sort of transitional um, between uh, the hair and the skin. So I might want to go in and create more of a more defined, specialized kind of edge that might show some kind of texture there, besides just sort of this sort of smoothed off kind of look. Now I know it looks like that is not my skin color. It is because, see, my halftone is, creating that different tone of my skin color because it's my halftone is there. Okay, that looks pretty bad right now. Just when I cut that halftone off, I cut my halftone on, it kind of makes everything look better. But this is what I'm talking about. This is the point where we're coloring in. We're just coloring this image in, and we're using the layers. We're using the layers to our advantage. And I would. I'm going to now go to. Well, let me show you what I was talking about with the lips. Okay. So if I create a lip layer, I got my skin layer selected. I'm going to create a new layer, and it's on top of my skin layer. Now I'm going to create a lip color. Okay. Now notice my hit return. Notice how my skin color is still there. I don't want to drastically change the color. If I do a drastic change, it might look really strange. If I want to keep the lips kind of similar to the skin color, all I have to do is maybe, if I want to make it just a little more pinkish, a little more red, without going straight red, I could just click down a little further on this slider. So if I click right here, now everything turned a little redder. Now that was the previous color, that's the skin color. This is the new color, okay? It's in the same area, this stayed there, and you can see how it's still in the same area. So it's the same value, essentially, okay? But it's just a subtle change in temperature. It's redder, it's warmer, okay? So now if I come over and click OK, and I make sure I have my brush selected, and I zoom in a little bit, and increase my brush size a little bit, and now I color in on top of that. Now you can see that's a very subtle kind of change. It's not much of a change, but I do feel like it does need to be a little darker. Okay, so all I have to do now, kind of click back on that color, and let's just make a darker version. Okay, so it'll show up better. That might be too much, we'll see. Maybe it's turned a little too red. I can go back up towards orange. Now, you don't have to do naturalistic colors. If you want to get a little more brazen with your colors, like I think that stands out a little too much right now. I might would want to go back and change that a little bit. That I could do that. Oh, that was a bad mark. So again, I can always go back and adjust these colors. I can click that color, go here. Maybe it needs to be a little more neutral. Now I can click my bucket tool and color that in quickly. Command D. So now it's toned down a little bit, and then you just continue this process. Okay, all right. Now it gets to the background, and then when it gets to the eyes, okay. Now I did do some things with the eyes to make my eyes stand out a little bit more. When I go to my color version, I'm going to show you. I've completed one. On this one, I did do some things to help bring out the white in the eyes, okay? Notice I put this really, if I come over to this layer, it says eye highlights. I click off on that. Notice how it's just like that. Now, if I zoom in on that, that may just look just fine. Just fine. Just like that. But I wanted to make the eyes stand out a little bit more. So I went in and did that. Okay. Now, what I did was, I'll click off on that again so you can kind of see up close. I put a little bit of white right here, put a little white right here, white right there. Now I didn't put white right here, and I didn't put white right here, and I didn't put white right here because I don't want it to look totally like the eyes are just beaming. Okay. I did want a little shade with the halftone right there, right? You can see the halftone coming through. I did want a little halftone right here. I did want a little halftone right there. Okay. If I click off on the halftone, let's just see what that looks like. It looks okay. You know, it looks more like kind of a cartoon comic kind of look, you know. But with the halftone on now, whoa, I got rid of the contour. That's what the contour does. Whoo, take away that contour. All right, so now there's my halftone, and that's what I got. So I did do a highlight layer on the very top. This is above the contour and above the halftone, if you want to do that. And then for the very last final thing, I did put in a background fitting for the portrait. And that's something I would like for you to do to complete your portrait. Do some kind of color pattern. You can make your own pattern. You can do whatever you want to do. But I don't want it to just be just our plain gray background. That just doesn't feel fitting for a portrait, okay? Now, you can see here, I did, do a shirt layer. Okay, I did do a shirt layer, and I didn't get to that in the in my example. I would have gotten to it, but I think I've gone far enough to show you how to complete your coloring. Okay? All right, that's it for this video. Oh, I will say this. Make sure you do, again, save this as a Photoshop file in case you ever want to go back and work on it. You know, I would save this as something new. Just don't overwrite your halftone. So I would go to File, Save As, and uh, maybe save it as their, that's my grandson's name that goes by, portrait. We'll make this color. Now. Then I would save that to your file on your desktop, save it, and then you'll go back. See, I was going to save it as a Photoshop, and then go back the second time and save it as a JPEG so that you have two files of this, as always. Okay? All right.